buckle up for a cringe fest of the most terrible MasterChef dishes that were just awful. Alright, so I'm talking about the time when Nick Wilkerman, a guy who was more at home behind a campground cookout kit, decided to ditch the Outback and head straight to the big city with one goal: to flaunt his culinary skills. Doesn't even begin to explain it. So Nick strolled into town with his signature woolly hat, making although the sun was blazing outside. But hey, you gotta respect the commitment to fashion, right? And you have to give it to him. The dude was trying to attempt something he'd never done before. He's preparing a dish that could feature in a fine dining restaurant. But he didn't seem to be too concerned about it.
I work as an adventure guide, so I do a lot of rock climbing and hiking work, all that kind of thing. And so a lot of my cooking is done on fires or in camp ovens, on little stoves. So this is all a bit foreign, just going from that kind of thing to the fine dining.
Yeah, well, looks like he was in for a real adventure. But what was he cooking up exactly? Well, listen to it yourself.
What are you cooking today then?
I'm cooking a chicken jolly, a parallel can draw. Did come from the supermarket, this one, I'm happy to say.
Yep, Nick had decided to present what he called chicken jolly, which is basically chicken breast infused with white wine, served with fettuccine, parmesan, avocado, and almonds. Sounds fancy, huh? But here's the kicker, he admitted the chicken came straight from the supermarket. So much for bush cooking, huh? Anyway, Nick was finally ready with his dish, and when he walked in to present it, this is how the judge reacted upon seeing him.
What's with the woolly hat, mate? It's like 30 degrees outside.
Yeah, it keeps the hair out of my eyes. I'm in the middle of a stupid bet to see who can grow their hair for the longest.
So what have you got?
Yeah, I don't think that little reply of his made a good impression. Either way, once the introduction was out of the way, the judges were so curious to see him at work that they walked up to his station to get a closer look.
So do you fish? Do you
try to. I don't. Generally, I'm just the cook.
But just like these guys, they cook and they send people out to go and get stuff.
That's right.
That's a good idea.
But just when the food critics started grilling him about where he got his ingredients from, you won't believe what he said.
Eating the odd bit of roadkill.
Sorry?
Eating the odd bit of kangaroo being retrieved from the side of a road.
He cannot be serious. I mean, I've never heard anything as absurd as that before. Nick casually dropped the bomb that he'd been known to scavenge kangaroo off the side of the road. Yeah, you heard that right. I mean, like, come on. Room for roadkill at dinner, anyone? The judges' expressions said it all. But, well, they weren't exactly excited to try his dish.
I'm eternally suspicious now of anything that you cook.
You're the food critic.
You guys can have a rock off if you like.
Do we rock off? Actually, paper, rock, scissors it. Do you want it?
Ready?
But wait, it gets better. The judges decide to play a game of rock, paper, scissors to see who had to taste Nick's creation first.
Gary!
Oh.
Enjoy.
Classic, right? I mean, how many times have you seen this happen on MasterChef? Though maybe honor is overselling it a bit.
Oh, no!
Oh, that must have been on the chicken.
Record-breaking hair?
What's that?
I guess Nick forgot to mention that special ingredient he added into his dish. I mean, those unruly locks of his? Despite being tucked under the hat, a strand managed to worm its way out from under there and fell straight into his dish. Classic. When Gary confronted him about the hair, the dude just laughed it off. Sadly for the judges, this particular chicken dish wasn't so jolly after all, huh? But guess what? This next contestant knew exactly what to add, what she didn't know is how much of it. You see, throughout her time on the show, Courtney, the winner of MasterChef Season 5, usually stole the show every time she showed up to cook. However, there was this one notorious episode where she would have crashed and burned, but somehow, and thankfully for her, she managed to stay afloat. But was it luck, or was it something else entirely? In a twist of fate, Iran, the winner of the previous round, bestowed upon Courtney the power to choose her dish for the dreaded pressure test.
Are you going to choose for everyone out there to cook?
I'll choose.
So, what did she go for?
And chose
Donuts. But things were about to take a turn for the worse. Courtney, knowing full well the importance of yeast in the art of donut making, ended up making a rookie mistake. She first instructed everyone to grab some yeast, effectively draining the pantry of this crucial ingredient.
I'm remaking my dough because I forgot to add eggs to it. I have to start over, all over, right now.
No eggs in the dough and no yeast left. Well, hey, at least we can make hardtack or something instead.
No, I'm sorry. I only got the 2.
Do you have any extra yeast? 1 packet, 2 packets?
I don't see any.
I'm basically shouting down the line to anybody that might have yeast, and no one will give me anything.
But wait, the worst was yet to come.
yeast?
No, no more yeast.
Okay, Francis.
What?
You have the whole kitchen in here. Do you have any extra yeast? I love you. Thank you.
Honestly, Francis, what the hell? You just messed with my plan right now.
Oh, it's Francis.
I'm so grateful.
Francis, sensing Courtney's impending doom, came to the rescue and handed her some yeast. Now, you might be thinking, problem solved, right? Wrong. The burning question remained. Could Courtney salvage this donut disaster and turn it into a culinary masterpiece? Would she be able to whip up a delectable delight despite the odds stacked against her?
So, we asked for a box.
So, here's what happened. Courtney, ever the resilient contestant, rolled up her sleeves and got to work. With a dash of creativity and a sprinkle of determination, she transformed her dire situation into an opportunity to shine. Despite the initial setback, Courtney managed to conjure up a batch of donuts.
Raspberry frosted donut and a chai glaze on the other.
But was she able to whip up the perfect batch? He spat it right out like it was the worst thing he'd ever tasted. Turns out, there was an unforgivable mistake she had committed.
They're salty. That's seriously salty.
I mean, who messes up donuts that bad? But, well, at least Chef Ramsay's reaction was priceless.
Please tell me you didn't put salt in place of sugar.
That is a mistake. I did not purposely put more salt in there.
I can tell you it tastes weird.
Yes.
It's like you've lost your heels, you've lost your mojo. You've peaked. You won the last dessert challenge. Is that you now on the descent?
No, I did hit a large bump. I picked everything up and kept going, and I didn't give up.
You're sliding down the aerial faster than you got up there.
But wait, it gets even crazier. Because when Joe and Graham stepped up, they were in for a salty shock of their own. Can you imagine how embarrassing that must have been?
It's hard for me to love these donuts.
And it's not just the judges, even the other contestants were probably snickering behind their backs. I mean, come on, mistaking salt for sugar? As much as people have bandied out that excuse as being a production team thing on Hell's Kitchen, I haven't heard the same from MasterChef, so this one's entirely on her.
Raspberry and blood orange icing.
How'd you let the salt slip?
It had to have happened when I was just rushing to get the second batch of dough.
It's hard for me to love these donuts. It's hard for me to even like them.
I'm sorry, Chef.
Now, I can never figure how exactly Courtney dodged the bullet that day. In fact, some viewers even think that the judges played favoritism because of which Courtney managed to stay on. And not just stay on, but managed to win the season as well. But, well, not all are as lucky as Courtney. You see, Mark Raffaelli was on a road to ruin of his own making when he stepped into the MasterChef kitchen during Season 2. Ranked in the oh-so-glorious 17th place, Mark's time on the show was marked by a series of simple mistakes that ultimately led to his early elimination. And what's more, it wasn't even a major mistake like Courtney's. It was actually pretty petty in the grand scheme of things. So what happened is, in the bustling kitchen of MasterChef, contestants faced the daunting task of creating culinary masterpieces under intense pressure. I know that hardly narrows it down, but still. However, it was the simple errors that made him stumble along the way. As the challenges unfolded, Mark found himself in a whirlwind of elimination rounds.
French or British cuisine?
I have no idea what's in store for us.
Spoiler alert, he chose French. Despite the chaos, Mark managed to secure a safe spot after 2 grueling rounds. It was during one such challenge that Christian, wielding his power from a previous win, selected a dish for the contestants to prepare. The kitchen was a frenzy of activity as Mark hurriedly searched for the required ingredients.
Has anyone seen thyme?
I have no idea what I'm gonna cook.
Amidst the frantic pace, Graham sensed Mark's determination and held high hopes for him. However, a pivotal moment arrived when the chef questioned Mark's confidence in his dish. It was a moment of truth as Mark, perhaps feeling the weight of the competition, stumbled in his response.
French restaurants?
No.
Okay. So you're kind of flying blind?
Yes.
Okay.
With unwavering determination, Mark presented his creation to the judges. A peppercorn-crusted filet.
Creamy rosemary garlic mashed with a béarnaise sauce.
However, the excitement quickly turned to dismay when Joe discovered a grave error.
Flour?
Unbeknownst to Mark, raw flour had found its way into the mashed potatoes. Yes, raw flour.
There's raw flour in here.
What?
That is a...
It had turned a potentially exquisite dish into a culinary disaster. Seeing this, Chef Ramsay pitched in to express his disappointment.
In cooking and adding flour to a liquid
And nope, he didn't stop there.
is one of them.
I was praying that someone else's dish was worse than mine.
Raw flour in mashed potatoes is deemed a culinary sin, a mistake that should never have been made. And Mark, realizing the gravity of his error, stood in the spotlight of scrutiny.
If someone else's dish was worse than mine, but adding flour to mashed potatoes like that without cooking them down is a big no. Even if someone's dish was worse than mine, they'll have a really good chance of going home.
The tension in the kitchen was palpable as Mark awaited the judge's verdict. Despite the unfortunate mishap, there lingered a glimmer of hope that perhaps Mark's overall performance would outweigh this misstep. However, as the judges deliberated, Mark knew that his fate hung in the balance.
Lord, please, just let me...
In the end, the decision was made. Mark's journey on MasterChef abruptly came to an end.
Should have listened to my instinct and done it the right way. Nevertheless, it was an amazing experience.
The raw flour incident had sealed his fate, and he bid farewell to the competition with a heavy heart. It was a lesson learned in the unforgiving world of culinary arts. Even the simplest of mistakes could lead to a swift exit. Reflecting on his time on MasterChef, Mark admitted that the highs of potential and the lows of mistakes had sculpted him into a better chef, ready to tackle future culinary endeavors with newfound wisdom.
Should have listened to my instinct and done it the right way. Nevertheless, it was an amazing experience, and I wouldn't change it for anything.
As he bid farewell to the MasterChef kitchen, Mark carried with him the lessons learned and the determination to rise above any culinary challenge that came his way. So, here's a question for you. Now that you saw how Courtney and Mark's dish turned out, who do you think deserved a second chance? Are salty donuts better than finding raw flour in the dish? What would your judgment be had you been the judge on MasterChef? Make sure to let me know in the comments below. Meanwhile, let's move on to another epic fail, which sadly was quite painful to watch. Alright, so here's a primer on what to expect next. Each team captain kicked off the culinary chaos by picking a dish to whip up. But here's the twist. Every 15 minutes, a new chef strolled into the kitchen, totally clueless about what exactly was cooking. Now, let's talk about Jared, the mastermind behind the blue team. He strutted in with all the confidence of a seasoned chef and decided on a dish: mussels in a coconut and tomato broth.
Into the pot and I see the broth and think to myself, I definitely want to improve this.
Sounds fancy, right? But here's the genius part. It's not just delicious, it's easy for everyone on the team to wrap their heads around. It was a pretty sound strategy. And as for Jared, let's just say his cooking skills were matched only by his knack for leadership. I mean, I'm sure the judges couldn't wait to see how this recipe would turn out. However, things were about to go spiraling out of control before long. And I don't think anyone, least of all Jared, expected things to go that way. John, the third cook to step up to the plate, didn't quite catch Fiona's relay message. Instead of getting mussels in a coconut and tomato broth like she said, this is how that insane mind of his interpreted what to do next.
His left hand. Is that chocolate?
It was frustrating to watch. You could clearly see that written all over their faces. And boy, did he take that message to heart. In just 15 minutes, yes, you heard that right, 15 measly minutes, John dashed to the pantry like a madman possessed. He was grabbing everything in sight, tossing in a smorgasbord of seafood to try and throw the Hail Mary of the century. But wait, there's more.
Now I'm really freaking out.
In a move that would make even the bravest of chefs break into a sweat, he snagged a block of white chocolate. Why? Because in John's world, apparently, making a veloute out of chocolate was the next big thing that even the judges hadn't put their finger on the pulse of.
What is he doing?
John.
There's a coconut mussel broth.
And not even Marco Pierre White. He sauntered over like a concerned parent about to confront their misbehaving child. And he asked a question that wouldn't be out of place in that context either.
Are you going back to your old habits?
I'm going to keep it simple, so I'm just going to have
White chocolate veloute.
White chocolate veloute and what?
But did John listen? Oh no, he barreled ahead, headfirst into danger, completely oblivious to the fact that he was about to crash and burn.
What are you doing? Told him what the dish was. He's just gone and got new.
And just when you thought it couldn't get any crazier, it did. It always seems to, doesn't it? John's cooking frenzy reached a crescendo as he poured his heart and soul into the catastrophe of the century. Meanwhile, the rest of us could only watch in awe and horror, depending on how you take it, as he single-handedly transforms a simple dish of mussels into a culinary calamity of epic proportions.
I know exactly what's going on now. This dish is just beyond complicated. It's going to definitely overwhelm whoever comes next.
Meanwhile, the clock was ticking, and Jared was supposed to lead his squad to victory with this mussel masterpiece. But guess what? When his time was up, it was like a kitchen nightmare there. There were mussels everywhere, half cooked, half undone, and the counter was cluttered like a hoarder's paradise.
Johnny, what are you doing? Why are you doing a white chocolate velouté with a coconut?
And then came Amy, the fourth cook in line, hoping to salvage the situation. But hold your aprons, folks, because John, the third chef, couldn't even string two words together to explain what the heck he was trying to cook. It was like he was speaking a whole different language.
Lobster and stuff, but what's the watch up with
I've added that broth into it, and we're gonna be adding what?
With just 30 minutes left on the clock, things were looking bleak, and no one had a clue what was happening. Fast forward to the end, and it was like a disaster served with a side of humiliation.
I just wanted to hide under a rock. It's good that you followed your instincts.
Too late, John. Too late. Amy and Georgia were left scratching their heads, staring at a pot of culinary catastrophe. And guess what? Team Blue got the boot straight into the elimination round. And there was John on the other side, admitting defeat with a feeble, "I messed up." Well, no kidding, John. Maybe next time, stick to microwave meals. Anyway, if I had a chance, I'd give the same advice to this next contestant, Tracy. You see, Tracy showed really great potential in cooking and big dreams, but things took a really unfortunate turn.
Chef, and unfortunately, I never took that career path. I'm just really like everyone in America who's had a dream.
Tracy, full of determination, walked onto the set, ready to cook her heart out.
The longest walk of my life.
And well, this is what she finally came up with.
I have made for you today a wild mushroom crispy risotto cake with a truffled egg and just some nice upland crust and some chives on the side topped with Parmesan cheese. Perfect.
It sounded fancy, and Tracy was confident. What's more, she had some sort of a deep connection with food.
So tell her, what does food mean in your life?
I grew up in an Italian household. My grandmother taught me how to cook. And so growing up, loving and learning how to cook, my life, it's really what I'm meant to be doing.
But if you grew up...
Yeah, she couldn't stop thanking her Italian grandmother who taught her how to cook. And as Tracy revealed about her life, the judges were curious to know more.
You have to be strong enough at a young age to get into it and pursue it.
Determined?
Determined, and I was determined.
So you're weak, obviously.
I'm not weak at all, actually. I am very, very strong. I'm gonna cook you the best dish I can possibly cook, get an apron, and damn it, I'm gonna win this competition. This is the opportunity of a life.
But when it came to her dish, all of that confidence fell flat. The judges weren't impressed by the fact that Tracy had added something forbidden in her dish.
Time.
What is that?
This here, it's just some white truffle oil.
White truffle oil?
Yes.
One of the most pungent, ridiculous ingredients ever known to chef.
The sure sign of someone who doesn't know what they're doing. Do you know the truffle oil?
It was a big mistake indeed. They called her out for cooking like a non-professional and for missing out on the real truffles. Sadly, despite her love for cooking, things took a dark turn for her.
Oils are made by perfumists that have no white truffles in them.
But it's good.
I can't believe you've just done that. I think you've just put your apron up in flames, let me tell you that.
Well, I'm sure nobody saw that coming, least of all Tracy.
Generally, if you go to a restaurant, you see truffle oil on the menu, it's a good reason to run away.
I can smell it from here. It stinks.
But if you ask me, I think the judges went easy on her, because clearly it could have gone a lot worse than this.
The rice cake is delicious. The egg got that richness to it, but the whole thing is knocked out, sadly.
Meanwhile, Tracy was feeling the pressure mounting as the judges tasted her dish. At first, they acknowledged that the risotto cake itself was delicious, but, well, that was the only good thing about the dish.
They're really delicious, but that truffle oil, it really takes over that dish.
Tracy knew she had made a mistake, but she was determined to learn from it.
Mistake.
I know. That is just a mistake, big mistake.
After a few tense moments, the judges were ready with their decision. And what do you know? Graham decided to give her another chance, much to Tracy's relief.
Yes or no?
I'll give you a chance.
Thank you so much.
As Tracy walked away, she knew she had to step up her game. She couldn't afford to make the same mistake again.
Keep cooking.
With renewed determination, Tracy vowed to keep cooking and improve her skills. But next up, here comes one of the youngest contestants on the show, Max Kramer. And this dude found himself in the midst of a pressure test that would put his culinary skills to the ultimate test.
Steaks in there?
About that much.
Okay, in between the 15 crepes, what is...
So, what was the challenge? Creating a dessert dish that would impress the judges and secure a sweet spot in the competition. But guess what? Despite being just 18 years old, Max had enough arrogance to eat everyone whole. Throughout the season, his attitude led to several feuds among the contestants, adding an extra layer of tension to the already high-stakes kitchen. Had he spent more energy in perfecting his cooking skills, who knows? His dessert, called tarte du crepe, wouldn't have ended up being a disaster. Now, given that this ambitious creation consisted of an impressive 15 layers of delicate crepes and luscious cream, Max was confident of sealing a spot in the next round. However, reality struck hard when Chef Ramsay took a bite, and believe me, his reaction was immediate and unfiltered. The disappointment was palpable as Max realized that his dessert had missed the mark by a long shot. But Chef Ramsay wasn't done. To prove his point, he even made Max taste his creation as a form of not-so-sweet punishment. The young contestant's face mirrored the shock and dismay of the judges as he sampled his own dish. Joe and Graham, who joined in the tasting, and couldn't help but laugh at the unfortunate outcome. Max's dessert, which he had been so proud of, turned out to be a complete disaster. The layers of crepes and cream, instead of harmonizing into a delicate treat, clashed in an unsettling way. The texture was off, the flavors didn't blend with each other, and the whole thing was a dessert gone wrong. All it takes is one small mistake to send you home, and this next contestant learned it the hard way. But this next dish left the judges speechless. The teams quickly chose their captains. Alejandro for the red and Christian for the blue. Each team had to create a menu featuring a protein, a starch, 2 vegetables, and a sauce. And as always, the losing team would face the elimination of one member. Now, it was up to Alejandro to inform the red team what their protein would be, and well, this is what they landed.
I want to go with the New York strip. We all agree?
Yeah.
Wait. You don't want to do like salmon or something?
Meanwhile, Christian on the blue team aimed to bring a taste of New Orleans with some fish, but his approach wasn't too friendly. He quite rudely shut down any input from his teammates. If you ask me, his leadership style was as dictatorial as it comes, with poor communication dragging down team morale.
I'm telling you what we're going to do. We're doing a corn mock.
Over on the red team, they were going through their own set of issues. And Ramsay had to literally step in and advise Alejandro to take charge. You know, his one and only job?
So happy that you wanted to become the captain, but run your team.
Anyway, once everything was set, the judges decided to sample a dish from each team before the Coast Guard arrived. I guess they didn't want to take any chances. So the blue team presented Cajun cod with garlic mash, corn mac choux, grilled asparagus, and tomato gastrique. Well, it looked like they had everything sorted, but Chef Ramsay found the cod slightly undercooked and maybe even a bit too sweet.
You're going to give me a Cajun style cod. I need some fire from you.
Yes, chef.
I need some acidity. I need some power in there, because right now...
When it's Aaron's turn to judge, he suggested adding jalapenos for some heat.
Take a jalapeno, slice it in half, saute it in your mac choux, pull the honey back.
Well, overall, if you ask me, it wasn't great, but not bad feedback as far as feedback goes on the show. But let's see how long the red team would be able to impress, considering they plan to serve a New York strip with sauteed mushrooms, charred broccolini, roasted potatoes, and citrus chimichurri. Yeah, it's almost like they went out bold, trying to include every delectable dish possible into one meal. But guess what happened? Their overconfidence backfired. Their test steak was raw and barely had any seasoning on it.
Not seasoned, it doesn't jump out of the plate, it doesn't excite me. All I taste is decent meat.
Joe was so mad that he questioned Alejandro's ability to take feedback and rally his team.
Are you capable of taking all that feedback
100%.
we just gave you and redirecting everyone in this team?
Meanwhile, Christian and Derek had their own thing going where they simply couldn't stop cashing with each other.
My potatoes, man.
That don't help.
Seeing the unnecessary scuffle unfold, Ramsay couldn't help but let a pretty brutal remark slip.
Petulant teenager is just throwing a massive hissy fit.
You know how to cook fish, right? You say you know how to cook fish, right?
No, I know how to cook.
Well, he wasn't wrong, was he? I mean, the red team was a hot mess. Shanika even criticized Alejandro's leadership, pointing out that he should oversee each station instead of grilling all 101 steaks himself.
To leave this station, it's like a dog with a bone. Like, it's mine, it's mine.
She actually was onto something because those steaks were definitely gonna be his downfall. I mean, if the sample they presented to the judges was any indication, then I think you know which way this was going for them. Because when the red team prepared the first table of steaks, Chef Ramsay blasted them for being cold. So what was the solution, you ask? He ordered them to reheat everything. From scratch.
Getting a char and seasoning right is not an easy thing. He's really trying, but I'm worried about him.
Frustrated, he directed the Coast Guard to the blue team instead. However, things weren't any better there either. Their mashed potatoes were barely even done boiling at that point.
Do you want to know why? Because our team captain threw hot potatoes in cold water.
Slowly, the Coast Guard received plates from both the blue and red teams. But they did actually get food, so that's something. However, the blue team soon hit a snag when Dara got chastised for poorly cutting the asparagus.
Start with that. Come back to me.
Someone's going home today.
Well, you see, it's all in the details, and it starts with how you chop the veggies. No matter how insignificant you think it is, prep time is crucial. And Dara learned this the hard way. Surprisingly though, the initial feedback from the diners was positive for both teams. And with that, both the teams were in a race. However, just when you thought they'd finally found their footing, something happened.
I would send it back and ask for another one. After my money back, even.
Yeah, a raw steak was sent back, and in frustration, Chef Ramsay pulled a dramatic move by tossing it right into the ocean.
Come on, give me a plate.
Oh, those steaks were turning out to be a real pain.
Seagulls are preferring the steak than the guardsman.
All right, here we are, sir.
But things took a turn for the worse when Chef Ramsay caught Alejandro doing this.
They're gonna get cooked.
Yeah, he casually picked up a tray of steaks that had fallen on the floor and put them back on the grill. Yikes. Talk about a complete disregard for basic hygiene. I mean, first of all, he wasn't doing great as a leader, and well, he had one thing to do. Work on the steaks, and sadly, he failed miserably at that too. But did he take responsibility for his clumsiness and the nasty move he pulled right after? Of course not. Alejandro came back strong with a defense that only he could make sense of. According to him, grilling would kill the bacteria.
Chef, I figure it was gonna kill the bacteria.
Look, say that again.
Right. I mean, thank you for that groundbreaking piece of information, brother. On a serious note, I died laughing when Chef Ramsay was so baffled by Alejandro's explanation that he just stopped and I couldn't think of what to say.
He just picked them up and put them on the grill because he just told me he thought it was going to kill the bacteria.
Yeah, this moment right here is one of those rare times when Chef Ramsay literally froze in time because, well, he had no idea how to react to something like that. The last I've seen him react like that was when one little miss explained to Chef Ramsay that cold water boils faster than hot water on Hell's Kitchen. Do you know who I am talking about? It was evident that both contestants brought strong personalities to the table, which could either lead to an exceptional collaboration or whatever the exact opposite of that is. Well, the challenge at hand seemed deceptively simple. To create a Mexican platter by replicating all the items on display.
Mexican food.
The instructions were clear, and both contestants dove into the task feeling pretty good about what was in store for them. And as the challenge kicked off, it initially looked like they may have been right in that assumption with the way they were cheering each other on and working harmoniously as a team. I mean, what more can you ask for, right? However, it didn't take long for the situation to take a sharp turn for the worse.
Quick.
Now, tag team challenge is the most...
And soon enough, the cracks in their partnership started to show.
Ebony and Sheikah, they're two strong individuals. I don't know if they'll come together as a team.
That's enough.
It became evident, painfully evident even, that they just couldn't seem to make things work. As the clock ticked down and the stress started to hit the roof, the situation continued to deteriorate.
I'm just going down the checklist. Don't get frustrated at me.
Right.
The pressure of the competition exacerbated their issues, making it harder for them to function as a cohesive unit. And when things couldn't fall in place, the tension reached its peak.
It gotta go on the trigger. You can't do that.
How long we want them?
I like that, man.
With both contestants struggling to maintain their composure and work together effectively, the situation worsened as the pressure built on.
This is it. 3, 2, 1, switch!
When it was finally time to present their platter, the outcome was a visual disaster.
Content. It's better than serving them dog crap.
Okay.
Chef Ramsay's reaction said it all. He wasn't one bit impressed.
What a mess. What happened to Sheikah?
Meanwhile, as the pair scrambled to explain themselves, they pointed fingers in every direction except towards themselves.
Absolutely not. I braised the lamb.
The moment of truth arrived as Chef Ramsay prepared for his first bite.
Because I have to taste this now.
The flavors clashed like opposing forces, and Chef Ramsay's reaction confirmed the worst. This wasn't good.
Thank you for my sick bag.
It was clear Chef Ramsay was unimpressed, but to this extent, his disappointment was palpable.
What's the positives?
I mean, it just wasn't just about the dish, it was more about their inability to work as a unit. Yachesia and Ebony's strong personalities, which could have been an asset, instead led to their undoing as they failed to collaborate effectively under pressure. Speaking of, here comes a contestant who left the judges boiling with anger thanks to, well, having no idea how to freaking cook. Well, it's gotta be Max Kramer.
I like the presentation.
So, Max found himself in the midst of a pressure test that would put his culinary skills to the ultimate challenge. And what was the task? To create a dessert dish that would impress the judges and secure him a spot in the competition. At just 18 years old, Max was the youngest contestant on the show, but he carried himself with an air of arrogance that didn't sit well with most of his fellow competitors.
I like the presentation, and I think the judges are gonna find it genius.
But today, I'm talking about the challenge when Max decided to showcase his skills with a dessert he called Torte du Crepe. This ambitious creation consisted of an impressive 15 layers of delicate crepes and luscious cream.
15 crepes.
15 crepes?
Stacked together.
Max, brimming with confidence, presented his creation to the judges, convinced that it would earn him praise and perhaps even a coveted spot in the next round. But hey, he made it to this list, so I'm pretty sure you already know how that went. Reality struck hard when Chef Ramsay took a bite of Max's tarte du crêpe. And believe me, his reaction was immediate and unfiltered.
What in the hell is that?
The disappointment was palpable as Max realized that his dessert had missed the mark by a long shot. Chef Ramsay's face twisted in dismay as he chewed on the dessert as the atmosphere in the room grew tense.
Damn.
But Chef Ramsay wasn't done yet. To prove his point, he even made Max taste his own creation.
Have to do this with me.
You have to taste that.
The young contestant's face mirrored the shock and dismay of the judges as he sampled his own dish. The flavors and textures that he thought were harmonizing into a delightful treat turned out to be a chaotic mess.
It's like I've just gone to the doctors for a skin graft on my butt.
Yeah.
And stuck it in caramel.
Joe and Graham, who joined in the tasting, couldn't help but laugh at the unfortunate outcome. Max's dessert, which he had been so proud of, had turned out to be a complete disaster. The layers of crepes and cream, instead of blending into a harmonious dessert, clashed in an unappealing way.
Horrible, weird texture.
The texture was off. The flavors didn't blend with each other, and basically, this was the best example of a dessert gone wrong.
That's rancid.
All it takes is one small mistake to send you home, and Max learned that lesson the hard way. But this next challenge was different. It was a test of skill, precision, and perhaps a bit of humility. Maybe, hopefully, Suzette stepped into the spotlight with the confidence of a former professional athlete. Yes, Suzette wasn't just any athlete. She was a pretty well-renowned Brazilian soccer player.
Suzette, a former professional soccer player, is hoping to score the first apron.
Now, she was channeling that competitive spirit into a very different kind of game. She was here to cook her way into the first apron in the competition. As Suzette introduced herself, I gotta say, I was pretty intrigued.
Excuse me.
A professional soccer player turned aspiring chef? I mean, that's not something you see every day. But let's see what she's got for the judges. Suzette's choice for her dish was tilapia fish tacos with a vibrant mango salsa. She explained how much she loved eating healthy, a habit she picked up during her soccer days.
I really like to eat healthy.
The judges were listening, sure, but there was an undercurrent of curiosity about her past. And a hint of pride in her voice. Chef Ramsay mentioned casually, clearly hoping to bond over their shared athletic past. Suzette smiled, acknowledging the comment as the two briefly discussed their love for sports.
I was a forward. If you were a back, I'll take you on.
The banter was light and friendly, but the atmosphere was tense. The show, after all, was not forever, and Suzette knew she had to impress quickly. She moved with precision and speed, just like on the soccer field, but this time, her goal was to create the perfect dish. The minutes ticked by, and Suzette focused on her fish tacos, the sweet and spicy mango salsa adding a colorful touch to her plate.
We're doing tilapia fish tacos with a mango salsa.
As she worked, the judges watched, whispering amongst themselves. There was something magnetic about Suzette, a blend of athletic grace and culinary passion. Finally, it was time for the tasting. Suzette presented her dish with a hopeful smile, and the judges dug in. There was a moment of silence, the kind that always feels like an eternity to contestants. And then came the feedback.
I really want to learn. I'm really here to work hard and I'm motivated.
I don't think there's a lot of discussion here, guys.
The tension in Suzette's shoulders eased slightly, but she knew better than to relax completely as her flaws were being laid bare right in front of her eyes. And because of that, Suzette never managed to get 3 yeses from the judges. Of course, her heart sank a little, but she kept her composure. She thanked the judges for their feedback, even though it wasn't what she had hoped for.
One strong piece of advice. Your enthusiasm for flirting put into your cooking.
But speaking of auditions that didn't make the cut, here comes another chef who stirred up quite a discussion online. Hailing from Kiel, Mississippi, Albert had quite the resume when he first made it to the MasterChef auditions.
My name is Albert. I live in Kiel, Mississippi, and I am a heavy equipment operator.
This dude wasn't just any ordinary guy. He was a heavy equipment operator who also doubled as a commercial truck driver. And apparently, he had some serious culinary ambitions too. Albert here was planning to whip up a mean jambalaya, and guess what he decided to throw into the mix?
I will make a jambalaya with alligator and sausage.
Yup, alligator. Albert was pretty sure of his dish. He promised that even if you hadn't tasted gator meat before, it was gonna be something special.
Thing that would taste like alligator would be turtle.
But why was this guy looking for a break on a cooking show? Well, if you haven't already guessed, it was for obvious reasons. Besides his passion for cooking, he had bills to pay.
The nation that I am the master chef, and it would financially stable me.
While this might sound like any other ordinary story, Albert's was a little different. Since Hurricane Katrina slammed through in 2005, Albert had been struggling to rebuild his life. Although he managed to put up a new house, it was still a work in progress. And with a dream to become the next MasterChef, he saw this as his ticket to financial stability. Now, coming back to the auditions. Albert sauntered into the MasterChef audition room with a swagger that screamed confidence.
Built a new house, not quite finished it. There is a lot at stake for me.
Sporting a camouflage outfit that blended perfectly with his redneck persona, my man here was ready to impress the judges with his culinary skills.
First name is?
Albert.
You're well camouflaged.
I'm the redneck concoctioner. I had to be camouflaged.
The judges wasted no time in getting to know Albert.
Are you a big fan of alligator?
If it's got 2 legs or 4 legs, I'm not scared of it. Well, I've cooked.
I mean, the dude's enthusiasm was infectious. But let's see if his culinary skills would match up to his personality. With just 5 minutes on the clock, Albert had to prove himself with his unique creation.
I have prepared a triple-tailed gator. It's alligator 3 ways.
Curious about Albert's adventurous palate, the judges inquired about his culinary preferences. But it wasn't just Albert's cooking that caught the judges' attention. They couldn't help but notice the tattoo peeking out from beneath his camouflage attire.
What's that on your chest there? What is that?
Oh.
It was an eagle with a holiday banner adorning his chest, while he hinted at another tattoo, a devil located in a rather unexpected place. Chef Ramsay couldn't resist the temptation, chuckling as Albert teased them with the offer to see it, but from a safe distance, of course.
I've got one on my butt. Would you like to see it?
Yes, please.
Anyway, let's keep the fun aside for a minute and get down to business. After a quick hand wash, well, of course, he had to, Albert proudly presented his creation, a sausage and alligator jambalaya, complete with a fried alligator medallion on the side, while the judges still couldn't snap out of his vibrant personality.
Alligator, a certain time of the season, we'll get it around home, you know?
Do you live in the bush?
Despite the challenges of cooking alligator meat, Albert had managed to deliver a dish that impressed even the toughest critics.
Incredibly lean, hardly any fats. Can deliver a really good flavor.
As Chef Ramsay took his first bites, he was taken aback by the unexpected burst of flavors. But there was absolutely no reaction from him. Next up, it was time for Graham to step up and try the gator dish. Once again, no reaction. Now, Joe was the only one left to try the dish, and you could sense the nervousness as he walked up to the front.
So this is my first experience eating a reptile.
Considering it was his first time trying gator, he wanted to prepare himself for what was to come next. And then, finally, he made the bold move. Without giving away a single hint, he walked right back to join the other 2 judges. Albert had no idea what to think of the judges' reaction, but that was until Chef Ramsay decided to share his feedback.
That dish resembles you 100%.
Oh no, that doesn't sound good. But before Chef Ramsay could elaborate, Joe cut in with his own feedback.
It's delicious.
Wait, what? Looks like Joe was blown away by the complexity and the depth of flavors Albert had managed to achieve. He simply couldn't stop raving about the dish.
The alligator is toothsome and flavorful, and it's really, really great.
What's more, Chef Ramsay decided to join in and praise Albert for his delectable dish.
You have surprised us.
I'm telling you, I am going to give it my shot, and I will do whatever it takes to become the next MasterChef.
With a resounding yes from all 3 judges, Albert's journey on MasterChef had begun. Determined to prove himself.
Graham.
I'm a yes.
You heard my vote. You're a yes, man.
He pledged to do whatever it takes to become the next MasterChef. As he walked out of the audition room, Albert couldn't help but grin from ear to ear, knowing that his culinary adventure was just getting started.
See you later, alligator. Yeah?
You got it.
Okay.
Thank you, Chef.
Okay.
In the end, Albert's wild and unapologetic approach to cooking had won over the judges' hearts and taste buds.
I think it's the first time he's been down from the tree in a year.
With his redneck charm and a dash of humor, he had made a lasting impression that would carry him through the challenges that lay ahead. As for Albert, he'd gone straight from the bushes all the way up to Cloud 9.
He's a son of a bitch, but he is an honest son of a bitch because he shoots you like it is, and he's not gonna you.
Albert must have really busted his chops to get that apron. And hey, it's not easy in the kitchen, but it sounds like he put in the work and earned his stripes. So kudos to him. Now, if you think I missed any awful moment from the show, make sure to let me know in the comments down below. And if you thought the video was crazy, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn on my post notifications. And hey, don't forget to check out this next video right here. It's even crazier. But here comes a dish that will make you appreciate your own cooking. Yeah, despite winning challenges, Whitney had her fair share of clumsy moments. Like, here's what happened in the first season, episode 11.
In her sculpin fish, the others can do nothing but watch.
So here, Whitney decided to cook pan-seared sculpin.
Going to be a very difficult challenge because it's an unusual fish. Yep.
And she really had some high hopes for it.
I was scared of it. I was like, this has got to be the best dish you've ever made.
And comes the final moment. She presented her dish really well in front of the judges. But one of them has an important question to ask, considering they were given less time to make the dish.
Fresh tomatoes.
I actually used the tomatoes out of the can.
But then she threw in canned tomatoes. Yeah, canned tomatoes. We'll come back to that. Here's how much she ended up scoring for her dish.
5 out of 12.
So, why did she score so low? Now, if you know anything about Gordon Ramsay, you know he hates canned food with a passion. The judges' faces dropped the moment they heard canned tomatoes. They were super bummed out.
Around and look on that tray there. You had the most amazing, fresh tomatoes.
She was pretty bummed out.
I'm just gonna fight back. Tomorrow I'm not going home.
The flavors were way off. Honestly, it's surprising she got any points at all. Man, once that episode aired, Reddit exploded. People were furious, especially when Whitney ended up winning the whole season. But let's be real, a lot of folks weren't thrilled about it. They felt like she got way too much attention, especially since she played it safe with her cooking most of the time. I mean, sure, she won, but some viewers felt like she didn't deserve it. They were like, come on, she wasn't some cooking genius. They even brought up how the judges kept going on and on about her age, like it was some big deal. But seriously, have you seen MasterChef Junior? Now, those kids are real prodigies. They're whipping up gourmet dishes like it's nothing. And let's not forget the canned tomatoes incident. Like, seriously, who does that? Not one of those young chefs on MasterChef Junior would ever make a rookie mistake like that. So yeah, Whitney winning didn't sit well with a lot of fans, and they made sure everyone knew it on Reddit. Anyhow, that's all about her. Moving on to our next rookie chef. Okay, let's break it down about David. Some folks think he's sitting pretty compared to her, but I'm not sold on that idea. I mean, sure, at the start, David was killing it as a chef. He was all passionate, logical, and respectful. I even had high hopes he'd make it to the finals. But man, did things take a nosedive in the second half of the season. Suddenly, all his good qualities vanished into thin air, replaced by pure arrogance. And began the clumsiness too.
That's where my mind was. I just said, I'd taste that.
I mean, he wasn't even done entirely to present it, but seems like he already messed it up. He served up this lobster pizza disaster that even the judges couldn't stomach.
Really bad. Big old long piece of bacon that looked like it just fell in it from someone's breakfast plate.
Graham didn't hold back, saying it looked straight up awful, and Joe chimed in with his classic, "You expect me to eat this?"
Was just a letdown.
You have no idea what he went and did. Poor David. He looked like he got hit by a truckload of criticism. And came comments from other contestants too.
Why is he even here?
And Ramsay? Well, he just straight up said this.
1,000-foot with nothing underneath it.
If you're browsing Reddit for the worst MasterChef disasters, you'll stumble upon David's Soup Gone Wrong saga without fail. Somebody even crowned him the season's worst contestant, putting him lower than Tally and Ryan on their list. And they had a laundry list of reasons, calling David mean, lazy, and a master at dodging responsibility in team challenges while making excuses in solo ones. Not exactly top 6 material, huh? But hold up, there's more to the David story you gotta hear. Picture this, episode 15's Mystery Box Challenge. Against all odds, David's dish actually landed in the top 3. Talk about a plot twist.
This dish is as good as we've seen from you, David.
Thank you, Joe.
Congratulations.
Winning that challenge gave him the power to pick ingredients for the next round, which turned out to be desserts. Sounds sweet, right? Well, here's where it gets messy. David wasn't feeling confident about beets or bacon, so he settled on corn. But when he had to choose from 3 corn dishes, he panicked. Eventually, he settled on making rice pudding, but guess what? He had to go to the pantry and pick all the ingredients. And guess what? He forgot the rice. Can you believe it? In the heat of the moment, he asked around for rice, but no luck. And let's just say, it cost him a whole lot more than if he'd just run out to the corner store for a bag of rice. So picture this, in the heat of the moment, David's running around like a headless chicken, trying to scrounge up some rice from the other contestants. How much do you need? They're asking him, and he's like, just a bit. It's chaos, but he finally gets his hands on some rice.
Do you need all of it?
No, I was gonna do that as a backup, but I'm good.
Phew. But by then, the judges are already raising their eyebrows in disbelief. They can't wrap their heads around how he managed to mess up his own advantage like that. So, did he manage to turn things around? Well, let's just say it didn't go as planned. As the challenge winner, he's the first to present his dish to the judges.
I forgot the most important component, the rice.
So, how was the dish? Joe, in his usual blunt style, pulls no punches.
Unedibly disgusting.
Ouch. And just when you thought he couldn't get any harsher, he goes for the jugular, asking if David even tasted it himself. When David mentions it reminded him of his mom's cooking, well, you can guess where Joe takes that.
Taste this?
I did. I enjoyed it. It reminded me of my mom's kitchen.
But let's give credit where it's due. The other judges weren't impressed either. They expected better. They gave him some pointers, but it wasn't enough to save him from the bottom 3. Luckily for David, he narrowly escapes elimination this time, with Felix taking the fall instead. But let's be real. If it were up to me, I might have sent David packing for that rice slip-up alone. Overall, it wasn't his finest hour on the show. But hey, at least he dodged a bullet this time. Next time though, well, he might not be so lucky. But that's a tale for another day. Alright, let's dive into this scene from season 4. So, Lynchy steps up to the plate, right?
And you've got a sort of awkward thickness to this pasta.
And bam! Did you see Ramsay's reaction? That's not something you see every day. But hold up, did you notice Lynn's expression? It's like he's saying, okay, I messed up. Talk about sarcasm, huh? Then Joe steals the spotlight as usual. Even in serious moments, he's got the perfect thing to say.
So you consider yourself a front runner in this competition?
Not after this, no.
Lynn's sweating bullets. Seriously, MasterChef is all about bringing your A game, but it looks like Lynn dropped the ball big time a lot of times. And people think that too. So, Reddit users have mixed feelings about Lynn's plating skills, especially when talking about the worst food presentations. Like, there's this one time with Lynn Chai's baked meringue, which apparently looked like a kombucha SCOBY, pretty gross.
You got a second?
People were like baffled because Lynn was usually praised for his plating skills, so this was a big surprise. And you know what Joe was gonna do, right?
Might be a memento for you to take home.
And this was totally gonna get him eliminated.
Because you have left a legacy with a very lasting impression.
But thank God to his good stars, he got a chance. Although he did not get eliminated eventually and not really made it as far. Overall, Redditors seem to recall Lynn's meringue as a standout disaster in plating, even though he usually did better. Other users mentioned bad plating from different seasons, but Lynn's and dishes really stuck with them for being particularly, memorable in a bad way. Up next, Helene was one of the clumsiest chefs on the show. She always seemed super calm and rarely got angry or stressed out. Even though she was confident, she just couldn't get it together in the kitchen and kept messing up. In the end, her constant slip-ups got her eliminated. But here's when things got really weird.
What in the hell are you doing? How many dishes are you doing?
And after causing a mess, Helene decided to throw some shade with some bold claims.
Because I don't work well under pressure.
Oof, that's not something you tell Gordon now?
It's just gonna keep getting harder and more rigorous.
And then came some hate from the judges.
I think that she has no idea what she's doing.
From the eastern shore of Maryland, that's like crab.
Joe, always ready to pounce, points out something interesting too. And then came the part where she had to present it.
Exactly like canned crab.
Damn, that is brutal. Man, things just kept heating up for Helene. She couldn't believe how thick her dish turned out. Comes Graham with his critiques now.
Shredded wheat, you know, like cereal.
And then, bam! Ramsay hits her with some harsh feedback about the flavor, questioning if she dumped the whole salt shaker on her cornbread.
I did add salt to the,
Added it or dipped it in it?
But the real gut punch came when Ramsay said he wouldn't even cough up a quarter if she asked for $24 for that mess. Helene was left feeling a whole mix of emotions. Shocked, surprised, embarrassed. It was a disaster, plain and simple. The pressure of the competition and the judges' scrutiny really got to her. But on MasterChef, cracking under pressure can be the kiss of death, even for the top cooks. Tough break for Helene, but that's just how the cookie crumbles in the kitchen. Moving on to Willie, one of the nicest contestants on the show. However, he struggled with his cooking skills as the competition went on, and his dishes often landed him in the bottom. He could handle pressure, but didn't work well with aggressive teammates.
Okay. I know, but look at me. Lips are white as anything.
Many users also found it annoying how the show constantly referred to him as Big Willie, which seemed unnecessary and overdone.
I got you. Big Willie's kind of regained his control.
In the 14th episode of season 5, Chef Graham was really rooting for Christian, giving him all the backing he could. But then, things took a nosedive. Despite all that support, Christian's final dish didn't quite hit the mark. When they inspected it, they found something that shocked everyone: a burnt pot sticker.
Too thick? Steaming is a slow process. It's a moist cooking method.
Seriously, how does that even happen after all the time and effort put in? And let me tell you, they were seriously disappointed. No sauce, no garnish, definitely not up to par. Turns out, Christian's dish was missing the key ingredient: sauce. And you know what they say? Sauce is boss for a reason. But here's the kicker: instead of just sending him packing, the judges saw this as a teaching moment. They seized the opportunity to impart a vital lesson. Tough love, but hey, that's how you grow, right? While it might seem like a piece of cake, one wrong move could morph your grub into a chewy disaster quicker than you can say, oops. But the real showstopper was when Ramsay waltzed in and took charge.
Seasoned. Disgusting.
The dude knows his way around seasoning like nobody's business. And let me tell you, he ain't one to sugarcoat his critiques, especially not in this kitchen. He took one look at that cabbage, or lack thereof, and let loose his disappointment. And to add insult to injury, not a grain of salt in sight. Seasoning's like the MVP here, and Big Willie tried to shoulder the blame. Bless his heart. But Ramsay wasn't having it. He straight up called that dish gross, and honestly, he wasn't wrong. Then came the bombshell. Ramsay questioned the dedication of William Christian to the whole shebang.
You both don't deserve to be in this competition.
But what really floored me was when he dropped this bomb. And just like that, it was curtains for Big Willie. Your journey ends tonight, Ramsay declared, sending Christian packing. But hold on to your hats, cause there's a new player in town, and their dish was even worse than the one that booted Willie out of here. Fans have mixed feelings about Big Willie from the show. Some believe his elimination was unfair, pointing to the show's challenges being rigged or not truly reflective of cooking skills. For instance, double eliminations and specific challenges like the wall challenge are seen as problematic, with some viewers feeling they unfairly disadvantaged contestants. Big Willie specifically struggled in the restaurant challenge, which some fans argue justified his departure. However, his likability and consistent performance earlier in the season garnered him support. The broader consensus is that the show seems manipulated, impacting fans' enjoyment and perception of fairness. Next up, Lisa Ann brought a lot of energy to the kitchen, but her journey was marked by some chaotic moments. Her disorganization and messy cooking habits often got in the way, leading to struggles during the competition. Despite her enthusiasm, she had a few unfortunate incidents, including a close call with Chef Ramsay and some heated reactions when things didn't go as planned. These challenges ultimately contributed to her early elimination. Let's dive into Season 7, where Episode 6's elimination test hit one poor soul like a ton of bricks. The challenge? Whipping up some lobster tortellini. Sounds fancy, right? Well, fancy quickly turned into a hot mess. Eggs in a basket? More like eggs in a panic. Things got so dicey that Ramsay had to swoop in and give Liz a reality check at her station.
Listen, why don't you make your pasta first?
I need the pasta to sit.
But I can't sit if you haven't made it.
Dude decided to hand out golden nuggets of advice, but what did she do?
You need to make the pasta first. To give it long enough to rest so you can roll it thin.
Well, let's just say her thank you was a tad lacking. Anyway, Liz's culinary prowess wasn't doing her any favors. Here's what happened. Her tortellinis were popping like fireworks, and not in a good way.
Happening. What are you thinking, Lisa Ann?
Are you okay?
Yes.
And hold on to your hats, cause it gets worse. The broth? Salty as a sailor's language. Ramsay's thermometer shot up faster than a rocket as he grilled her about her commitment to the competition.
Are you taking it seriously enough?
Oh my God, are you
Really?
kidding? You know how hard I worked to get here?
I'm not convinced.
I worked really hard to get.
But Ramsay wasn't buying it. MasterChef is all about the food, not your empty promises. He shot back. Liz was out faster than you can say overcooked pasta, and she got all defensive.
Of who I am, I'm telling you.
I'm done with excuses. So you're done.
No, I'm not done because I don't want to give up yet. I'm not giving up.
She didn't even have time to process what hit her before Ramsay gave her the boot. Tough break, but hey, that's the cutthroat world of MasterChef for you. Today, I'll be going over one cook from each season that nailed the competition, if it was scored like golf. And if I have to pick one contestant from Season 1, it would be her. Although Farug came very close in competition for being my first pick for the day, I guess some of you might be up in arms for going with Avis instead. I mean, no doubt she was one of the kindest souls we've ever seen on the show, but being sweet and full of enthusiasm doesn't always translate to being a great cook. Sadly, no matter how hard she tried, her culinary skills barely hit the mark. Like, take what happened during the elimination challenge of Episode 4, for instance.
Oranges. The theme is Chinese.
Having won the previous Mystery Box Challenge, Whitney had the choice to pick the star ingredient, and she went with mandarin oranges. Now, every contestant was tasked with skillfully incorporating the citrus delight into Chinese cuisine creations. While most contestants were pumped up, Avis was sweating bullets.
I don't know how to make the perfect Chinese dish.
Well, it looks like things just got 10x tougher for her. And guess what? When Chef Ramsay stopped by for a quick update, Avis was all over the place.
Go ahead on and just, cook my
boiled carrots.
See what I mean? Apparently, she was gonna use carrots, but Chef Ramsay wasn't in on her plan.
To make sure they're the right texture.
Anyway, cut to the tasting, and Avis presented her Chinese orange chicken with vegetables and noodles. And right off the bat, Chef Ramsay wasn't impressed.
A dish to be proud of in the 21st century.
Yes, it is.
Clearly, the dish looked like a disaster, but Avis thought otherwise.
Orange chicken, and then underneath the chicken.
And when it was time for the tasting, well, maybe everyone would have been better off if they'd judged the book by its cover.
Little chicken noodle vegetable dinner from a gas station.
Damn, that was brutal, but nope, he didn't stop there.
Unique Chinese, delicious.
Avis's heart sank as reality hit her like a ton of bricks. Eventually, she ended up being the first ever contestants to be eliminated from the MasterChef kitchen. But before she left, the judges urged her to keep cooking and honing her skills.
Put into your food, which is inherent in cooking.
Well, of course, Avis would be the only one with the unique honor of being the first to go, but she was far from the last. Now, heading over to season 2, and this contestant here, if you thought Avis was bad, well, let me say that we're just getting started. Yup, I'm talking about none other than Alvin, known for his vast culinary knowledge alongside a technical arsenal used for molecular gastronomy.
Today, in the back of my mind, I always see.
However, despite all that, he failed to execute, well, anything properly. And it caught up with him in episode 7's elimination test.
Today's elimination test.
And what was the main ingredient of the theme, you ask? Check this out.
Coffee.
And so the test began. The contestants were given 1 hour and 30 minutes to make an exquisite dessert, and Alvin was feeling pretty confident about the challenge. But when Joe and Graham reached the station, they were pretty taken aback with his ideas.
Coffee spheres to put in the beignet.
So like a liquid center,
yeah,
cafe
liquid
du
center,
monde.
yeah, powdered sugar, maybe a little.
Our guy here was putting his molecular gastronomy to the test, that's for sure. But Joe reminded him not to get lost in the weeds.
Make us dessert. It's not a chemistry experiment.
You need to convert.
No matter how scientific those weeds were. And finally, when it was time to present his dish, well, now, I'm not a fan of what it looks like, and I'm sure I'm far from the only one with that opinion. But guess what it tasted like? As if that wasn't enough, Chef Ramsay then came up with a rather unsettling description. Yikes, not sure where Chef Ramsay got that idea from. But leave it to Graham, and he decided to keep things real.
What I personally do day in and day out, a bad name.
Now, there's a reason why molecular gastronomy is popular in the fanciest restaurants the world over. If you can nail it, it's gonna be a hit, but if you can't, well, you'll be like Alvin over here. Like Chef Ramsay's parting words for Alvin, had he understood the basics before getting into the more complicated stuff, who knows, maybe he could have gone much further in the competition. But, well, there's no coming back from some mistakes. Just like what happened with this next contestant from season 3. Well, that's it for today. So, how would you rank these chefs? Make sure to let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn on my post notifications. And if you want to watch something crazier, make sure to check out the next video right here. It's even better.